Hello, I'm Girish Jagwani, student of Masters in Data Analytics at National College of Ireland, and this is my project for Data Warehousing and Business Intelligence module, and the topic is insights on global impacts of variation in crude oil price. For my project, I have used 8 data sources, of which 4 are structured and 4 are unstructured. Those are as follows. The structured data sources include Statista, which gives me data for top 2500 companies globally. My second structured data source is World Trade Organization, and the data used is monthly trade data for countries, that is import and export. My third data source is investing.com, from where I am obtaining the daily crude oil prices historically. My fourth data source is Kaggle, which gives me data for sectors of different companies. My first data source is Alpha Vantage API, using which I am extracting the historical stock data of companies. My second unstructured data source is Twitter Developer API, using which I am extracting the tweets that I am going to use for my sentimental analysis. My third and fourth unstructured data sources are SICcode.net and statistictimes.com, which I am web scraping to obtain data for SIC codes and their descriptions, and countries and their GDPs. Moving on to the R scripts, these are my R scripts. I have used a total of 7 R scripts. Let's see one. This is my R script for Alpha Vantage API. Over here I am providing the parameters to download the stocks, download the historical data of the related stocks. Moving on to my SSIS project. So this is my SSIS control flow. I will start debugging it and we can have a look at it. So the process starts with truncation of stage table, followed by which we have independent sequential containers for each data source, in which we have R script followed by the respective data flow task to transfer the data from CSV to the tables. Now it can be seen that all the sequence containers are arranged in parallel and connected directly to the stage table to implement the parallel processing for SSIS. Moving forward, we have work tables, which works as an intermediate layer, and we do the further data processing over here. Post it, the fact table is dropped, dimension tables are cleared and new data is inserted to them. Fact table is created again with all the constraints. Fact table is populated, and once all these relations are established, we have automation process for cube deployment, using which we deploy our cube. So this entire process is automated and there is no human intervention required in it. By the time the process continues, we can have a look at our cube. So this is my cube, which I have developed using star schema. So we have one fact and 3 dimensions which are linked together using foreign key constraint. My dimensions are company, country and date, which provide the respective details accordingly. Getting back to my SSIS. So the cube is now deployed successfully. We can see that there are no errors encountered as part of this process. We can even check the number of tweets that we have observed as part of count star query on our stage table. So we have 1,22,921 tweets. Now moving on to the Tableau for our BI queries, we have 3 different BI queries. Those are as follows. My first BI query is worldwide sentiments for crude oil price. That is, how are the sentiments worldwide on social media? So we can see that the countries like India and Algeria, who are major importers of crude oil, have negative sentiments for it, whereas the major exporters like Russia and Saudi Arabia have positive sentiments. However, note that countries like Venezuela and Islamic Republic of Iran, even being exporters of oil, are having negative sentiments. This is majorly because of recent sanctions applied by the United States. Moving on to my second BI query, which is impact of crude oil on trade, we can see we can select as number of countries as we want, but for time being I have selected Australia and China for analysis. So we can see that in the year 2010 and 2011, when the crude oil prices were high, Australian exports were relatively higher than their imports. On the other hand, China, which is a major importer of crude oil, has higher imports than their exports. The inverse holds true for the year 2015 and 16, where we can see that when crude oil prices are less, Australian imports are relatively higher than their exports, whereas Chinese exports are higher than their imports. So from this we can conclude that crude oil does have an impact on trade. We can drill down this further from years to months and months to days for further analysis. Moving on to my third BI query, that is impact of crude oil price on stock market. We are comparing between different sectors based on oil prices. We can see that when the oil price starts to increase, the stocks of energy sector starts to increase as well. On the other hand, when it starts to increase, the stocks of transport sector starts to decrease. This holds true inversely as well, as when the crude oil prices were decreasing, stocks of energy sectors started to decrease as well. On the other hand, when it was decreasing, the transport sector prices increased suddenly. So we can infer that crude oil does have an impact on stock market. We can drill down the sector data further into different companies, and if we want to see which industry does this company belong to, we can pull out ISIC industry code, and this gives us the data. Like for an example, Chevron Corp belongs to extraction of crude oil petroleum. This can be seen for all the companies. So that's my presentation. Thanks for watching.